Admiral Olivia Reeves sat in the grand chamber of the Galactic Council. The room was massive, with curved walls that stretched upward to a ceiling that looked like the night sky. Beams from 100 different worlds filled the seats around her. Some had scales, others had fur. Some had 6 arms, others floated in special tanks. But all of them were looking at her now. She was the only human in the room. For years, Earth had prepared for this day. They had built faster ships, cleaned their oceans, ended their wars, and reached out to the stars with messages of peace. After decades of work, humans were ready to join the great families of the galaxy. The head counselor, a tall being with blue skin and 4 eyes, stood at the center of the room. His voice boomed through the chamber. The Galactic Council has reviewed the application from the planet Earth for membership, he said. After careful consideration, we have reached our decision. Olivia straightened her uniform. She had practiced her acceptance speech 100 times on the journey here. She had thought about this moment since she was a young officer. First contact had happened when she was in school. Now, 30 years later, humans would finally take their place among the stars. The application is denied, said the head counselor. Olivia felt like someone had punched her in the stomach. She must have heard wrong. I'm sorry, she asked. Denied, repeated the head counselor. Earth is not ready for membership in the Galactic Council. A small being with green skin and large eyes stood up. Humans are too aggressive, it said. They fight wars over imaginary lines on their own planet. Another counselor, who looked like a giant insect, clicked its mandibles. They are unpredictable. They make decisions based on emotions rather than logic. And they are evolutionarily immature, added a third voice. This one came from a cloud of gas that shifted colors as it spoke. They have only been traveling in space for a few hundred years. Most council members had been exploring the stars for thousands of years before they were admitted. Olivia felt her face grow hot. She wanted to argue, to defend her people. But she knew that showing anger now would only prove them right. I understand your concerns, she said, keeping her voice steady. But humans have made great progress. We have ended our major conflicts. We have developed technologies that you received from contact with more advanced species, interrupted the head counselor. The decision is final, Admiral Reeves. Earth's application is denied. You may reapply in 100 years. 100 years. Olivia would be long dead by then. Everyone who had worked for this moment would be gone. The meeting ended. The representatives from dozens of worlds filed out of the chamber, some throwing curious glances at her. A few looked sympathetic. Most ignored her completely. A small being with purple skin approached her. I am sorry, Admiral, it said. My people voted to accept Earth. We believe in giving chances. Thank you, Olivia said. But it seems we are still not welcome at the table. Give it time, the alien said, then hurried away. Olivia walked slowly back to her ship, the Earth vessel Determination. Her crew waited for the news. Their faces fell when she told them. What do we do now, Admiral? Asked her second-in-command, Lieutenant Ryan Foster. Olivia looked at the stars through the viewport. The journey back to Earth would take 3 weeks, even at their fastest speed. 3 weeks to think about what to tell the United Earth government. 3 weeks to consider the future of humanity among the stars. But as she stared into the darkness of space, something hardened inside her. The council had made their decision. They thought humans were too aggressive, too unpredictable, too young. Maybe they were right, and maybe that was exactly what the galaxy needed. Set course for Earth, Lieutenant, she said. We have work to do. Yes, Admiral. What should I tell the crew about our mission status? Olivia smiled, a plan already forming in her mind. Tell them we've been denied a seat at the table. So we're going to build our own. President Ethan Delgado stood at the podium in the Great Hall of the United Earth Parliament. Representatives from every nation on the planet waited in silence. The news of Earth's rejection by the Galactic Council had leaked 3 days ago, when Admiral Reeves' ship entered the solar system. Now, Everyone wanted answers. Ladies and gentlemen, President Delgado began, his voice echoing through the chamber. 3 weeks ago, Admiral Reeves presented our case to the Galactic Council. After 30 years of preparation, after all our advancements and peaceful efforts, they have rejected us. Angry murmurs spread through the crowd. On screens around the world, billions of humans watched the address. In homes, in offices, in public squares, the mood was the same: shock, followed by anger. The Council claims we are too aggressive, continued Delgado. Too unpredictable. Too young as a spacefaring species. He paused, looking around the room. They're right. The murmurs stopped. Everyone stared at him in surprise. We are aggressive when we need to be. We are unpredictable because we think differently. And yes, we are young among the stars. But these are not weaknesses, as the Council believes. They are our strengths. He pressed a button, and a hologram appeared above the center of the hall. It showed a map of the galaxy, with Council territories marked in blue. For too long, we have sought permission to join a community that has no interest in our participation. Today, we chart a new course. The President nodded to a woman sitting in the front row. Dr. Natalie Wright stood up and walked to the podium. As the head of the Advanced Propulsion Laboratory, she was the brightest mind in faster-than-light travel research. Dr. Wright and her team have made breakthroughs they've kept secret, even from the Council, said Delgado. Natalie, please tell them. Dr. Wright adjusted her glasses. We've developed a new drive system, she said, twice as fast as our current technology, using half the energy. And we found a way to hide our ships from Council sensors. The hologram changed, showing the design of a new type of ship. It was sleeker than current Earth vessels, with strange patterns on its hull. But that's not all, Dr. Wright continued. We've also discovered how to create stable wormholes for instant travel between 2 points in space. Gasps filled the room. This was beyond what anyone expected. The Council had wormhole technology, but they guarded it closely, allowing only full members to use their network. President Delgado returned to the podium as Dr. Wright sat down. General Hayes, please share our defense plan. General Aaron Hayes, a tall man with a serious face, stood up. We are launching Operation Prometheus, he said. Within 5 years, we will build a fleet that can defend Earth and our future colonies, not to start a war, but to ensure no one can threaten us again. The hologram showed designs for new warships, with weapons and shields far beyond current Earth technology. When General Hayes finished, President Delgado spoke again. This is not just about defense. We will expand outward, establish colonies beyond Council space. And most importantly, we will find other species that the Council has rejected. He looked around the room, making eye contact with as many representatives as possible. The Council denied us a seat at their table. So be it. We won't be knocking on their door anymore. We're building our own house and our own table. The hall erupted in applause. Even representatives who usually disagreed with Delgado were standing, clapping, shouting approval. As the noise died down, President Delgado made his final point. Admiral Reeves will lead our first diplomatic mission beyond Council space. We know there are other species out there who have been rejected as we were. Together, we will create something new. Not a council where ancient species look down on newcomers, but an alliance of equals. He raised his hand. Operation Prometheus begins today. The roar of approval shook the walls of the hall. Across Earth, humans felt something they hadn't felt since the rejection. Hope. 5 years passed quickly for humanity. Earth had changed more in these 5 years than in the 50 before. New cities rose from empty lands. Shipyards orbited Earth and Mars, building vessels that could travel faster than any human ship before. The first colonies beyond the solar system were growing. And all of this happened without the Galactic Council's permission or knowledge. Captain Samantha Ortiz stood on the bridge of her ship, the UES Defiance. At 32, she was young to command such an important mission, but she had earned it. The Defiance was one of Earth's newest ships, built with technology that Dr. Wright and her team had developed. It could travel through space faster than Council ships and hide from their sensors. "Captain, we're approaching the Arcturus system," said Lieutenant Chris Allen from the navigation station. "Thank you, Lieutenant," Samantha replied. "Reduce speed and activate cloaking system." The stars outside the viewports seemed to slow their movement as the ship decelerated. A soft hum filled the bridge as the cloaking system came online, bending light around the ship and masking its energy signature. "We're cloaked, Captain," reported Lieutenant Kelly Robinson. "No sign that anyone has detected us." Samantha nodded. "Good. Take us in slowly. We don't want to surprise the Caldari too much." The Caldari were the reason for their mission. Admiral Reeves had discovered records in Earth's first contact data about this species. They had been rejected by the Galactic Council 200 years ago for being too primitive. Earth's intelligence suggested they still lived in the Arcturus system and might be open to an alliance. The Defiance moved deeper into the system. They passed the outer planets, gas giants with rings of ice and rock. As they approached the fourth planet from the star, sensors detected activity. "Captain, I'm picking up ships," said Lieutenant Robinson. 7, no, 8 vessels in orbit around the fourth planet. Can you identify them?" Lieutenant Robinson studied her screen. "They're not Council designs. They appear to be Caldari ships based on the records we have." "Any weapons pointed at us?" "No, Captain. They haven't detected us yet." Samantha took a deep breath. This was the moment of truth. Either the Caldari would be potential allies, or this mission would end before it began. "Disable the cloak and open a channel," she ordered. "Let's introduce ourselves." The Defiance became visible, its hull gleaming in the light of the Arcturus star. Almost immediately, the Caldari ships changed course, moving to surround the Earth vessel. "They're scanning us," reported Lieutenant Robinson. "No weapons active yet, but they've taken defensive positions." "Open the channel," Samantha said. Lieutenant Allen tapped his console. "Channel open." Samantha spoke clearly, knowing her words would be translated by the ship's computer. "Attention, Caldari vessels. This is Captain Samantha Ortiz of the United Earth Ship Defiance. We come in peace, seeking diplomatic contact." There was a long pause. On the view screen, the Caldari ships maintained their positions, neither advancing nor retreating. Finally, a voice responded, the translator converting alien sounds to English. "Earth vessel, this is Commander Zarn of the Caldari Defense Force. We have no record of your species. Identify your intentions." "Commander Zarn, we are from Earth, a planet beyond your system. Like you, we were deemed unworthy by the Galactic Council. We seek friendship with species who share our experience." Another pause, longer this time. Samantha could imagine the discussions happening on the Caldari ships. The voice returned. "Captain Ortiz, the Council rejected us 2 centuries ago. Since then, we have had no contact with other species. Why should we trust you now?" Samantha smiled. This was the opening she hoped for. "Because we bring something the Council never offered. Respect as equals. We don't want to control you or change you. We want to trade, to learn from each other, and to stand together in a galaxy that tried to ignore us both." A new voice came over the channel, older with a tone of authority. "I am High Leader Vex of the Caldari, Captain Ortiz of Earth. We will meet. One ship may approach our world. Come unarmed, and we will talk." Samantha looked around at her crew, seeing hope in their eyes. "Thank you, High Leader. We accept your invitation." The first contact between Earth and the Caldari had begun. It would not be the last. Ambassador Richard Monroe straightened his uniform and looked at the massive doors of the Galactic Council chamber. 5 years ago, Admiral Reeves had left this place in defeat. Now Monroe was about to enter, not as someone begging for acceptance, but as a representative of power. "Are you ready, sir?" asked his assistant, Maria Gonzalez. Monroe nodded. as ready as I'll ever be. The doors swung open. The chamber was just as grand as in the reports, with a high ceiling that looked like the night sky and curved walls lined with seats for hundreds of species. The council members murmured as Monroe walked to the center of the room. They had not invited Earth back. They were not expecting this visit. The head counselor, the same blue-skinned being who had rejected Earth 5 years ago, stood up. "What is the meaning of this? Earth's application was denied. You have no right to enter this chamber." Monroe smiled politely. "I am not here to apply for membership. I am here to inform the Council of new developments." A hologram appeared beside him, showing a map of the galaxy. 17 star systems were highlighted in green. "This is the Terran Coalition," Monroe said. "An alliance of 17 spacefaring species who control these systems. I am here as the Coalition's representative." The council members looked at each other in confusion. The head counselor's 4 eyes blinked rapidly. "This is impossible," he said. "We have no record of such an alliance." "You wouldn't," Monroe replied. "We operate beyond council space, in regions you have deemed unimportant. The Coalition includes Earth, the Keldari of Arcturus, the Nilarians of Ta Ceti, and 14 other species, all previously rejected or ignored by this council." A tall, thin alien with red scales stood up. Monroe recognized him as the Voraxian High Chancellor, one of the most powerful members of the council. "This is outrageous," the Voraxian bellowed. "These territories fall under council jurisdiction. You have no authority to form such an alliance." Monroe remained calm. "We do not seek your authority or permission. I am here merely to inform you of our existence and to establish boundary lines. The Terran Coalition respects Galactic Council space and expects the same courtesy in return." The chamber erupted in angry shouts. The Medusan matriarch, a being that looked like a large jellyfish floating in a special tank, moved forward. "This upstart alliance will be crushed," she hissed, her translator making her words sound even more threatening. "We will impose economic sanctions on any world that trades with your so-called coalition." Monroe waited for the noise to die down. The reaction was exactly what Earth had predicted. "We anticipated your response," he said when he could be heard again. "Which is why I've been authorized to inform you that all coalition worlds have ceased exporting critical rare minerals to Council space, effective immediately." Silence fell over the chamber. These were not empty words. The unimportant worlds beyond Council space were rich in minerals that Council technology depended on. Minerals like neodymium, yttrium, and other rare elements that the advanced Council worlds had mined from their own planets long ago. "You cannot do this," the head counselor said, but his voice lacked conviction. "It is already done," Monroe replied. "The shipments were stopped 3 days ago. We estimate that Council worlds have a 6-month supply at current usage rates." The council members looked at each other in growing alarm. The Voraxian High Chancellor was the first to understand the full implications. "You planned this," he said. "All of it. Even your rejection 5 years ago. You used it to build this coalition against us." Monroe shook his head. "Not against you. Independent of you. Earth doesn't want war, High Chancellor. We want respect. And now we have the means to ensure it." He stepped back from the center of the chamber. "I'll leave you to discuss the new reality. The coalition will send representatives next month to negotiate trade agreements as equals." As Monroe walked out of the chamber, the shouting began again. But now there was fear mixed with the anger. The Galactic Council was facing something they had never expected. Humans who had turned rejection into strength, and who had built not just a seat at the table, but an entirely new table. Admiral Grace Mitchell stood on the bridge of the UES Intrepid, the largest warship ever built by human hands. Through the main viewport, she could see the stars of the Arcturus system. This region of space, once just a distant point of light to Earth astronomers, was now the border between Coalition territory and Galactic Council space. "Admiral, Council ships approaching," reported Commander Peter Kim, her second in command. They've just dropped out of faster-than-light travel at the edge of the system. How many? Asked Admiral Mitchell, her voice calm despite the tension filling the bridge. Commander Kim studied his screen. 5 dreadnoughts, 10 cruisers, and 15 smaller vessels. Standard Council battle formation. Admiral Mitchell nodded. This was expected. After Ambassador Monroe's visit to the Council 3 weeks ago, Earth intelligence had predicted a show of force. The Council was not used to being challenged, especially by species they considered inferior. "Are they scanning us?" she asked. "Yes, Admiral. They can detect the Intrepid, but not our other ships." Admiral Mitchell allowed herself a small smile. "Let's wait until they're fully in the system." The minutes ticked by slowly. On the tactical display, the Council fleet moved deeper into the Arcturus system, heading directly for the Intrepid. They were coming in with confidence, expecting to find a single coalition ship. "They're sending a message, Admiral," said Lieutenant Scott Harris from the communication station. "The Council commander demands that we leave Council territory immediately or face destruction." "Arcturus is not Council territory," replied Admiral Mitchell. "It is the homeworld of the Keldari, founding members of the Terran Coalition." She turned to Commander Kim. "Are they in position?" "Yes, Admiral. All ships report ready." Admiral Mitchell nodded. To cloak the fleet, Commander Kim pressed a sequence of buttons on his console. Decloaking now. Outside in the darkness of space, ships began to appear as if by magic. Not just 1 or 2, but dozens. Then scores. The Coalition fleet had been waiting in ambush, hidden by the advanced cloaking technology developed by Dr. Wright's team. 20 dreadnoughts, 40 cruisers, and 60 destroyers now visible to the Council fleet, reported Commander Kim. "Our ships have taken position around them on all sides." On the tactical display, the Council fleet was now a small cluster of red dots, surrounded by a much larger swarm of green ones representing Coalition vessels. The trap was complete. "Open a channel to the Council commander," ordered Admiral Mitchell. Lieutenant Harris worked his console. "Channel open, Admiral." "This is Admiral Grace Mitchell of the Terran Coalition. You have entered Sovereign Coalition space. Your ships are surrounded and outgunned. You have 2 options: retreat immediately or be destroyed." The reply came quickly, the alien voice translated by the ship's computer. "This is Commander Xal of the Galactic Council fleet. Your actions constitute an act of war against the Council. We will not be intimidated by inferior species." Admiral Mitchell sighed. The Council's arrogance was as expected. "Commander Xal, look at your tactical display. Count our ships. Scan their weapons. This is not intimidation. This is reality. You have 5 minutes to begin withdrawal." There was a long pause. Admiral Mitchell imagined the Council commander looking at the same tactical display she was seeing, finally understanding the true situation. "You planned this," Commander Xal's voice finally responded. "You let us detect 1 ship to lure us in." 5 minutes, Commander," Admiral Mitchell repeated. "They're counting down now." The bridge was silent as the minutes passed. Admiral Mitchell knew that every person there was thinking the same thing. Would this be the day the first shots were fired in a war between the Coalition and the Council? At the 4-minute mark, the Council fleet began to move. "They're turning around, Admiral," reported Commander Kim. "All ships are powering up their faster-than-light drives." Admiral Mitchell nodded. "Let them go. Make sure all our ships hold position." One by one, the Council ships disappeared into faster-than-light travel, retreating back to their territory. Not a single shot had been fired. "Send a message to Earth," Admiral Mitchell ordered. "The Council fleet has withdrawn. They now understand that we are not bluffing." As the last Council ship disappeared, cheers broke out across the bridge. It was a victory without bloodshed. The best kind of victory. The Galactic Council had finally learned that humans and their allies were not to be underestimated. Back on Earth, The coalition leadership was already planning their next move. Dr. Nedley Wright stood in the center of the largest laboratory ever built by humans. Located on a space station orbiting Earth, the facility stretched for nearly a mile in each direction. Scientists from 17 different species worked side by side, each bringing unique knowledge and perspectives. Director Wright, "The final calculations are complete," said Lisa Blackwell, a brilliant physicist who had become Dr. Wright's right hand in the Nexus Initiative. "We're ready for the test." Dr. Wright nodded, trying to hide her excitement. After 3 years of work, they were about to attempt something never done outside the Galactic Council: create a stable wormhole for instant travel across vast distances of space. "Alert all stations," Dr. Wright ordered. "Begin the countdown." Throughout the massive laboratory, scientists moved to their positions. The Nexus Initiative was the Coalition's most ambitious project yet. If successful, it would change everything. On a raised platform in the center of the lab stood a ring-shaped device 30 meters across. This was the Nexus Gate, designed to tear a controlled hole in space-time. A matching gate had been built near the Keldari homeworld, over 50 light-years away. Even with the fastest Coalition ships, that journey took weeks. If the Nexus worked, it would take seconds. "All systems online," reported Lisa. "Power level stable. The Keldari team reports ready." Dr. Wright took a deep breath. "Begin the sequence." Energy flowed into the Nexus Gate. The air around it seemed to shimmer and distort. Within the ring, space itself began to bend and fold. A dim light appeared at the center, growing brighter. "Phase 1 complete," called out a Nilarian scientist, his 4 arms working multiple control panels simultaneously. "Moving to Phase 2. The light within the ring expanded, filling the entire circle with a swirling, glowing energy. Through it, they could see nothing yet, just a tunnel of light stretching seemingly forever. "Phase 2 complete," the Nilarian reported. Connection with the Keldari Gate initiating. Everyone in the lab held their breath. This was the critical moment. Either the wormhole would stabilize, connecting the 2 gates across 50 light-years of space, or it would collapse, potentially with catastrophic results. The swirling energy suddenly changed color, shifting from white to blue. And then, through the tunnel of light, they could see figures moving on the other side. Connection established. Lisa shouted, unable to contain her excitement. "We have a stable wormhole to the Keldari homeworld." Cheers erupted throughout the lab. Scientists of all species hugged each other, some crying with joy. Dr. Wright smiled broadly. They had done it. They had created what only the oldest council species had managed before: a stable pathway through space-time. "Send the test probe," she ordered when the celebrations had quieted somewhat. A small robotic probe floated toward the Nexus Gate. It paused at the edge of the swirling blue light, then moved forward, disappearing into the wormhole. On screens around the lab, scientists watched its progress. "Probe has exited at the Keldari Gate," reported Lisa. "All systems functioning normally. Travel time, 3.2 seconds. More cheers filled the lab. 50 light-years in just over 3 seconds. The implications were enormous. Dr. Wright stepped onto a small platform to address the gathered scientists. "Today, we've made history." The Council maintained its power by controlling access to the galaxy through their wormhole network. They decided who could travel where, and how quickly. They denied that access to species they deemed unworthy, like all of us. She gestured to the glowing Nexus Gate. "But now we've built our own network. One that will be open to all Coalition species with no gatekeepers. We are democratizing the galaxy." As she spoke, the first official traveler through the Nexus stepped out of the Keldari Gate and into the Earth Station. High Leader Vex of the Keldari. The alien leader had aged since that first meeting with Captain Ortiz years ago, but his eyes showed the same wonder that filled the room. "My friends," Vex said, his translator converting his complex language to English. "Today, the Coalition truly begins. No longer will we be limited by distance or separated by time. Together, We will reshape the galaxy. The implications of the Nexus Gate were clear to everyone present. The Galactic Council had maintained power for millennia by controlling traditional space lanes and their limited wormhole network. But now, the Coalition had changed the rules of the game. President Ethan Delgado sat in his office in the United Earth Government Building. The view through his window showed a transformed planet. New towers reached toward the sky, built with materials and technologies developed through Coalition cooperation. Ships of various designs, some not even made by humans, flew through the air. Earth had changed dramatically in the 10 years since their rejection by the Galactic Council. A soft chime indicated an incoming message. President Delgado touched a button on his desk, and a hologram appeared. It showed a being with blue skin and 4 eyes, the head counselor of the Galactic Council. President Delgado, the alien said, "I hope this message finds you well." "Head counselor," Delgado replied, keeping his face neutral. "This is unexpected." The head counselor seemed uncomfortable, shifting slightly in his ornate chair. "I bring an important message from the Council. After much deliberation, we have voted to offer Earth full membership in the Galactic Council, effective immediately." Delgado raised an eyebrow, but said nothing. "We recognize that our previous assessment of humanity was hasty," the head counselor continued. "Your species has proven itself to be resourceful and capable. A seat awaits you at the council table." There it was, the offer that 10 years ago would have been celebrated across Earth as a tremendous victory. Now it seemed almost laughable. "I appreciate the offer," Delgado said carefully. "May I ask what prompted this change of heart?" The head counselor's 4 eyes blinked rapidly. "The Council values Earth's contributions to galactic civilization. We believe all advanced species should work together." What he didn't say was the real reason. The Galactic Council was facing economic collapse. The Coalition's control of rare minerals had been just the beginning. Now, with the Nexus network expanding, traditional trade routes controlled by the Council were becoming obsolete. More species were defecting from Council space to join the flourishing Coalition. The mighty Galactic Council was dying, and they knew it. "I will bring this offer to our Coalition Congress," Delgado said. "Though I should warn you that decisions are not made by Earth alone anymore." "Of course," the head counselor said. "We await your response." The hologram disappeared. Delgado sat back in his chair thinking. Then he pressed another button. "Susan, please arrange an emergency meeting of the Coalition Congress for tomorrow." "Yes, Mr. President," his assistant replied. The next day, representatives from all 17 Coalition species gathered in the great circular hall built specifically for their meetings. The hall was on a space station at the center of the Nexus network, reachable from any Coalition world in minutes. President Delgado stood at the podium. Around him sat beings of all shapes and sizes: the Keldari with their crystalline skin, the 4-armed Nilarians, the gaseous Drill who floated in special containment fields, and many others. All species once rejected or ignored by the Council. "Yesterday," Delgado began, "I received a message from the Galactic Council. They have offered Earth full membership." Murmurs spread through the hall. High Leader Vex of the Keldari stood. "And what will Earth's response be?" Delgado smiled. "That is not for Earth alone to decide. We are part of something greater now." He looked around the room, meeting the eyes, sensory organs, or whatever each species used to see. "I propose that we respond with an offer of our own. The Galactic Council is welcome to apply for membership in the Terran Coalition. All species are welcome, regardless of their history. Our only requirements are respect for sovereignty, commitment to innovation, and recognition of equal status among all sentient beings." The hall erupted in sounds of approval. Cheers from the humans, harmonic tones from the Keldari, rhythmic clicking from the Nilarians. The message was clear. The Coalition would not dissolve to join the Council. Instead, they offered a new path forward. Later that day, Delgado recorded his response to the head counselor. The message was broadcast on all frequencies throughout Council space, bypassing the Council's official channels. "We appreciate your offer," he said, "but the terms are no longer acceptable. Instead, we extend an invitation to all Council species to apply for membership in the Terran Coalition." As the message played across thousands of worlds, something remarkable happened. The Alavari, a species that had served the dominant Voraxians for centuries, sent their first independent message to the Coalition. They wished to apply for membership. The tables had truly turned. Admiral Olivia Reeves, now retired after a long and distinguished career, stood before the graduating class of the Coalition Academy. Her hair had turned white over the years, but her eyes still held the same determination they had when she faced the Galactic Council's rejection 20 years ago. The ceremony took place in a massive hall on New Horizon, a world that had been uninhabited before the Coalition. Now it was home to the most prestigious educational institution in known space. Students from dozens of species filled the hall. Humans sat beside Keldari, whose crystalline skin caught the light. Young Nilarians with their 4 arms gestured excitedly to each other. Even several Voraxian youths attended, their families having defected from Council space years ago. 20 years ago, Admiral Reeves began. "I sat in the Council chamber and heard them tell me that humans were too aggressive, too unpredictable, and too young to join their ranks. I came home with what they thought was a message of defeat." She looked out at the sea of diverse faces. So much had changed since that day. But what they saw as weaknesses, we recognized as strengths. Yes, humans can be aggressive when needed. We are unpredictable because we think differently. And our youth gave us the energy to challenge the old order. A murmur of agreement ran through the crowd. These were not controversial statements anymore. "They denied us a seat at their table," Reeves continued. "So we built a table big enough for everyone willing to work together. And now, that table stretches across 2 galaxies." It was true. Last year, the experimental long-range Nexus corridor had connected with the Andromeda galaxy, opening up a whole new frontier for exploration. The former Galactic Council, once the dominant power in the Milky Way, now governed only a fraction of their former territory. Just last month, the final Council species had voted to join the Coalition, effectively dissolving the ancient institution. Their last official act had been a formal apology for their rejection of Earth and other lesser species. "You graduates represent the future," Reeves said. "The first generation to grow up in a galaxy where species are judged not by their age or traditions, but by their character and contributions." As she spoke, a young officer hurried onto the stage and whispered something to the Academy director. The director looked surprised, then pleased. He quickly wrote a note and passed it to Admiral Reeves. She read it, then smiled broadly. "It seems I have breaking news to share," she announced. "The UES Discovery, under the command of Captain Kyle Hernandez, has just made contact with a new civilization in the Andromeda galaxy. The first intergalactic diplomatic meeting in history is about to take place." Excited conversation broke out among the graduates. Many had friends or family members serving on the deep space exploration vessels. The Discovery had been the first ship to use the experimental long-range Nexus corridor to Andromeda 3 months ago. "This is what we built," Reeves said when the noise had quieted. "Not an exclusive club like the Council, but an ever-expanding community of equals. Every new species brings new ideas, new perspectives, new possibilities." She looked out at the young faces. "Some of you will travel to Andromeda soon. Others will help extend the Nexus network to even more distant galaxies. You will meet beings we cannot yet imagine. And when you do, remember our history. Remember that diversity is strength. Remember that we are stronger together than apart." The graduates stood and applauded. As the ceremony concluded, Admiral Reeves thought back to that day in the Council chamber. The rejection that had seemed so devastating had actually been the beginning of something far greater than simply joining an exclusive club. The universe had become a much larger table, and humanity was no longer asking permission to be seated. They were now extending invitations to others, building something greater than the Council had ever imagined possible. From denial to dominion, from rejection to revolution, Earth had not just taken a seat at the table. They had rebuilt the entire room, and the party was just getting started.